Hi there and welcome to this bonus episode of the Gazette's Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Stu Cowan of the Gazette and I'm joined by my regular partners here, former Canadiens teammates and 1986 Stanley Cup champions, Rick Green and Chris Nilan. Canadiens are off to the Eastern Conference Final against the Carolina Hurricanes after beating the Sabres 3-2 in Buffalo in Game 7 of their second round series. Knuckles, the Hurricanes are going to be very well rested. They will have had 11 days off before this series starts. But interesting to note, since 2000, there's been 8 series in the playoffs where a team that had that swept the previous series played a team that went 7 games, and in 7 of those 8 series, the team that went 7 games won the ensuing series. There's that, and there's also 3 games against Carolina this season, including 2 in Carolina. The Habs won all of them. So what do you think the Canadiens' chances are going into the series?
Listen, you're starting fresh, the Habs. Yeah, they've 7-game series. I get it. They've had a long time off, and they probably healed up some injuries, got some rest. And I think if that affects a team, it usually the first game because of the rust. You got to get the rust off. It's like starting again. Like you've been out of the playoff picture. Hello. You know, you're practicing every day. That gets monotonous. So it can affect you in the first game. We'll see how it affects this team moving forward. But I think the feather in the cap of the Habs. And, again, what's done is done. The regular season is a regular season. But they're going to have a little bit of confidence, I think, going against this team, knowing that, geez, we played really well against this team this season, those 3 games, and 2 of them in there. So, I think they got to go in there, that mindset, we got to get that first game. And if they do, boy, that puts Carolina, their first loss, and it puts them on their heels a bit. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Again, we can make all the predictions in the world, but you got to get on the ice and play.
What do you think the key will be for the Canadiens, Rick, going into Carolina?
I think, again, we've talked about their type of team game, which is aggressive on the forecheck and their speed and their transition. And they do that. When they do that well, they cause a lot of problems. And I'm hoping that they'll bring that in against Carolina. You can say what you want, the regular season. Yes, that's a bonus. They did have some success. But now it's playoff time, and you have to respect the fact that Carolina had 2 sweeps and played really, really well. But it's a challenge for the Canadiens. We're hoping that the fatigue is not an issue with the way they kind of tailed off, the last couple periods, last couple games. They'll recharge. It's an exciting time to know that now you're down to 4 teams to get a chance to get a sniff at winning a Stanley Cup. They're going to run on emotion. They're going to be fired up. They're going to be so excited with the fact that they're in the mix. And now it's entirely up to them to find a way to get their best game forward, starting again with Dobish being the main go-to guy. Carolina is really tough defensively. They don't give a lot. Anderson's playing well. They got a lot of guys. Their penalty killing is excellent. So they're a good all-around team. They're going to be ready. Obviously, well rested, and that's fine. But let's just get going. Let's see what our young team can bring energy-wise, and put Carolina back on their heels, knowing that they're coming at them aggressively, and they're going to use their speed and transition and make it really tough on Carolina to contain them, because when they do that, they're tough to play against.
Knuckles, if you were Marty St. Louis, what would be your biggest concern going into this series?
I don't know if he has concerns sometimes, but he does. But he never shows it.
Yeah.
My concern, and we talked about it, my own end of the rink. My concern as a coach would be, boys, when we get a lead, we got to try and build on it. We can't sit back. We cannot sit back. It's like we get comfortable, 3-1, Game 6, 2-0, Game 7. We saw what happened. They come right back at you. So they have to listen. You're not going to be, again, perfect all game, but you can't have lapses like the whole second period and into the third period like that and expect to go on and win. I know they have, but that sooner or later that's going to bite you, and you have to really focus on that. It's great. You defend with your feet, you do, but when you get chasing, like I said, trouble. That would be my concern. I hope it's
Rick,
good.
Rick, if you were still an assistant coach with the team right now, what would your message be to the team heading into the series?
Try and patch up some of the defensive zone lapses where you're given grade A opportunities and hoping that Dobish is going to make the save. Those type of things don't always go in your favor. So I think that starting from their team game defensively is they're going to have to really bear down because Carolina plays pretty hard. They play pretty determined. They're going to be coming hard at them. So again, starting in your zone, patch up some of those mistakes that you've been making, giving grade A chances, and then the rest of the game will take care of itself. And I'm confident they're going to identify, the concerns that they have and try and patch it up and allow them to play a real good, sound defensive game because they'll make things happen offensively.
No, because as you mentioned earlier, Marty is so calm and he's always seems so positive. I know Kent Hughes, when he did an interview with Tony Marinaro earlier this season, he said that Kent said, I'm always looking for the negative things in the game, and Marty's always looking for the positive things in the game. That's probably a pretty good mix to have when you have two guys working together. But just how much of that calmness and that sort of positive attitude that Marty has, how much do you think that's responsible for the team being able to be where they are right now?
Yeah, come on. It has a big part in it. He's been a great teacher. He's a guy, we talked about before, the carrot and the stick. He's always got the carrot, never the stick. And, maybe we don't see that part of it, but I'm sure, he holds guys accountable. But, the whole Kirby Dach thing in against Tampa, ready to hang him. This town was ready to hang that kid. And the coach comes back to him. He has a big game. But that's not only important for Kirby Dach. It's all the other guys seeing that. Wow, he stuck with him. He didn't throw him under the bus. And that's important. So he really, and it's true, like, it's easy. Here we are talking about the game. They won. It's great. What do? We pick apart some of the things that you see in the game and you wonder, how the hell is it like that? So, yeah, Ken Hughes being a GM, he certainly, he's going to pick apart the game, and you find those negative. I remember Lemare. He would bring us in. When we did stupid stuff defensively, and even in the offensive zone. And he always sat us down. He played the video, and he'd say, before he played the video, he said, listen, you're going to be on this video some years, and I'm not doing it to embarrass you. I'm doing it to correct things so we all understand what we have to do as a team. And that was so enlightening, especially back in that day, because it was like, do your job, shut up, and do what I say, right? But Lemare was that first guy for me that really was starting to teach guys how to play the game and how to be effective as a group. And I think Marty has that in spades right now. And one area that I worry about is the defensive zone.
Well, Marty always talks about the truth, right, Rick? He says you just focus on the truth. He's truthful when he speaks with the media. He's truthful when he speaks to the players. You were an assistant coach for many years in the NHL, a lot of different head coaches. What would you like most if you were an assistant coach right now with Marty?
Well, I love the way Marty has a feel for his group. And today's players, even in our day, to have a guy that's jumping up and down and screaming and losing it behind the bench just doesn't work. And one thing will never change is the information that the coach is delivering to you. You as a player have to see it work. And if you see it work, you're going to buy it. And right now, Marty has a lot of information he's given to a lot of guys on a one-on-one and as a group that is touching all the buttons that allow them to have some success individually and team. And you can see it. They're going to do anything they can do to do what he asks. And bottom line here is they're seeing the results of the information that's being delivered, and they're doing it the best they can, and that's why they're in the top four, running for the Stanley Cup.
Knuckles, as calm as Marty is, or positive, is that you see him in the post-game reactions after the series, and I think, as he said, that the player in him comes out a bit again, right? He's doing that Wolf on Wall Street act again after beating Buffalo. How much does that do the players like that? Just seeing that other side, seeing that, yeah, he was a player and he does sort of react the same way we do after a big series win.
Well, I think it's important for coaches. Certainly, you got to maintain that coach in you, that you're leading the ship. But certainly, when he goes in and does those things, I think it's awesome because he connects with the players with that in a different way. You know, he's been there, he knows. And, you know, I remember talking to Jacques about when he won, how happy he was, not for himself, for the players. And that meant so much when I heard that come out of his mouth, because he really was genuine about that. You know, when you're the guy in front of the orchestra and you're doing your thing and they come out and they win, man, there's no better feeling as a coach. You applied some things here that helped this group come together as a team. And that's the most important thing, to come together as a team. And this group of young kids, all the pain and suffering they've been through, last place in the league, you know, kind of, a difficult time. But the growth, every year they've had that growth. And he said that. He saw it each year, the growth. And we've seen it here as a fan base, a very patient fan base. And it's been awesome to see. He's done a hell of a job. He's almost like a father figure, right, Rick? And you know, he was asked during the series, he's one of the longest tenured coaches right now in the NHL, even only 4 years. And he said, I'm going to do this. I love what I do, and I'm going to do it until somebody tells me I can't do it, and then I'll do something else. I have a life outside of hockey. And I think that attitude he has, really helps him in this job, especially in this pressure market.
Yeah, it resonates well with the group and the market and everything that he is involved in. And like I said before, those days of coaches slipping out, and I worked with a number of coaches, and I remember it wasn't in Larry Robinson's best interest when I was with him in L.A., because he came in after one of the periods and he goes, "Should I rip him?" And I said, "Yeah, well, why not?" So he came in and started ranting and raving, which is unlike Larry, and then he took his fist and he smashed it on the table in the middle of the room, and ultimately ended up breaking his finger from the smash. So, anyways, that part of the coaching system doesn't work anymore. Marty has the new and current way to handle and make sure that everybody understands what his expectations are, and they deliver.
All right, so let's get to some predictions here, Knuckles. I believe all three of us picked the Canadiens to beat Buffalo, so we were right on that one. You guys both picked them to beat Tampa. I was the one guy who said they wouldn't. So now going into Carolina, Knuckles, what's your prediction for the Canadiens?
Let's play it safe and say the Habs in 7.
All right. Rick?
I'm going to look at Carolina in 6.
Carolina in 6. I've been going back and forth on this, and I was like Carolina 6, but there's just something with this Canadiens team that they don't give up. So I'm going to go with Knuckles and say Habs in 7 for the 3rd straight series. And we'll see what happens. It's going to be a fun series to watch, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm predicting with my heart. That's all.
Yeah, well, I'm sort of. It's you look at, but those things I mentioned before, about they won all 3 games in Carolina. The fact that teams that coming off a Game 7 win do better against teams that have a long break. So we'll see. That's why they play the games, right?
And Stu, one more thing about Marty. Yeah. He'll do it till he, they tell him he can't do it anymore, and he has a life outside of hockey. That's cool that he says that, but it's a hell of a lot easier to do when you have a pile of dough.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Well, exactly, and he doesn't need this job, right? He wants this job, so that's a really good point. Anyway, that's it for this bonus episode. I hope you all enjoyed it out there. We'll have one more bonus episode coming up over the next couple of days, talking about why the Canadiens are great on the road and not so great at home during the playoffs. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the Hockey Inside Out YouTube channel. And in case you didn't already know, you can watch Hockey Inside Out now on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.